Welcome to the Fight Life podcast. For me, that's the first time I've ever said that. I've used to open this mic by saying, welcome to the Cognitive Rampage podcast. And although you're going to hear it on the Cognitive Rampage network, this officially is the first The Fight Life show. And well, the story behind the fighter on the show today, I'll let him tell, but that's why I think it's perfect for the first guest for the Fight Life, because I don't want this show to be your typical MMA fighter show. That's not what it's about for me. Doing this is about really revealing what the fight life is really like, behind what they show us on ESPN, behind what you see on UFC, but behind the money, behind the fame, behind that stuff, the life of a fighter, of a real fighter. Amateur, pro, all the way up to UFC, it is a hard life to lead. And not everyone that comes on this show is going to be a fighter either, but they're fighting for something in life. Whether it's our last guest we just had on who's fighting MS and is a giant voice for those, or actual real fighters that live the life of a full-time fighter, and those that are part-time fighters, where you're trying to be a full-time fighter and hold down a job, which I know the guest on our show has been through and can walk us through so much. Thank you for being the first guest on the Fight Life podcast, Eddie Truck Gordon.
Oh man, I greatly appreciate it. There's no pressure being the first, but as I'm listening to you speak, you're hitting on a lot of golden nuggets and gems, man. People just see the money that's reported, they see the TV, but they don't understand, what goes into a fighter. And it's a lot. There's a lot behind the scenes. You couldn't pick a better genre, a better topic, because people need the knowledge.
I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate you coming on to share. And like, rather than start most shows where I'm going, hey, you champion of 19, the ultimate fighter, you before we get to that, I want to know the story, the work. Where did it start? I know you're from Jamaica. If that's where it started, take me back. Maybe when you were just like a mini truck or a mid-sized truck before that Mack truck showed up, Walk me through that, man.
It's wild, man. I came here when I was, 3 years old, Jamaican immigrant. Speak with an accent different from most kids, looked at funny. And it's wild. When I got the nickname Truck, I was the farthest from that. I was a skinny, scrawny. I don't think I was 110 pounds, soaking wet. And my older brother, who was my role model, my biggest inspiration, probably the best athlete I ever saw, he gave me the nickname because I was playing football with him, and I didn't like it. I thought it was corny, it was whack, it wasn't sexy. Like, who wants to be called a truck? Like, some metal object, like a big metal object at that. And it kind of grew onto me, football, playing football. I thought I'd be a professional football player. That didn't work out. Hit corporate America up. Being in a rat race, sitting behind a desk wearing a suit and tie. Even though I was making good money, it just wasn't for me, man. I was just had that fighter in me. Some people say, you're born a fighter, or can you grow and develop into one? For me, it was just in my blood. Everything I ever worked for, had to fight for.
So without the UFC, technically you would be what would be the Fight Club guy, because you were sitting at your office job, losing your fucking mind. You have your stuff. You're acquiring all the social constructs they've told you to acquire, and then you just go, I have to fucking get hit and hit someone.
Pretty much. That's the short version. It's wild because people don't understand it. Most of my friends, even my family, when I first told them I'm going to leave this comfortable desk, suit and tie, to go inside this cage and get punched in the face and kick somebody and punch somebody, and they thought I was out of my mind. Had a lot of doubters that didn't think I'll be able to do it. But now, look, man, I'm on this podcast. I probably wouldn't be on this show if I didn't, start fighting. It opened up platforms and doors that I thought would never open, and that for me is where my legacy is going to be cemented.
I love the idea, man, and the vision to see it. And why do you fight still? Why are you still there? Why? What's that called? Walk me through why you fight now.
It's wild, man. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, man. When I first started fighting, it was just this passion, this burning desire. I saw it. I went to UFC 101 sitting cage side, and I was like, oh, man, I can do this. And I really started fighting because everybody doubted me. And people told me, there's no way, you're too fat, you're too old. And that pumped me up and got me fired up. So I started fighting because of that. And, the money was good, man. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. The money was good. And unfortunately, that's why a lot of fighters do fight. That's why a lot of athletes play sports. But I'm at a point in my life now that I have other business ventures going, and I continue to fight because I'm a competitive animal. Like it's just inside my nature, it's inside my blood. It makes me feel sane. And I feel like I have a lot left, to give the sport. But more importantly, I just want to compete. And I want to show my kids that if you put your mind to something and you have a vision and you pursue it with a passion, purpose, you could complete that. And that's what it is for me right now. It's part of my legacy.
Yeah. And now I love that. That is inspiring when you hear that, right? I love that, right? But I want to get clear for the person that is sitting ringside tonight in Charlotte that may get it in their mind and go, I could do that, right? So after you said I can do that, pre first amateur fight, walk me back to what Eddie's thinking then. Walk me through what life was like then, as it was your first four amateurs. Walk me through what life was really like the moment you finally said, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, man, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, and I don't recommend it for everybody. I definitely tell everybody pursue your passions, pursue your dreams. But for me, it was literally waking up at 8, 9 o'clock, getting the kids ready to go to school, going to my corporate job 9 to 5, and after I finished at 5, I would literally hop over 2 towns. I'll hit up Ray Longo's gym down in Garden City. I would train like an animal for 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours because I was to be quite honest, I was 10 steps in the back. I started this sport when I was 27 years old. We literally had no mixed martial arts experience. So I had
Holy
time to make up. So
shit.
literally,
So you
I would
literally were
work.
that guy sitting there going, I can do that. You're
It's
the dude I'm
it's
talking
scary, man.
about.
It's scary. It's like that's why I don't ever put anything past people, man. Somebody tell me they're gonna do something because I was that guy that people laughed at and made fun of. And when I came to the gym, I wasn't the most talented guy in the gym. If you ask Ray, who's a world class trainer, he probably coached two of the biggest upsets in UFC mixed martial arts history. He would tell you I wasn't nothing special, but I just wanted to work a little bit harder. I wanted to pursue a little bit deeper, and I just was not willing to just have anybody laugh at me and say I couldn't do it. So it was tough working, family, work,
Oh, so
training.
wait,
It's tough, man.
did you just skip by that while you're doing that, you also had family?
Yeah, but that was the easy part. Believe it or not, like I'm a family guy. I love my kids. They drive me nuts. All boys, 4 boys. I can't make any girls, but I guess God said I can't handle girls, so He didn't give me any. But
He
the
said you wanted to
family
fight.
was
He
the
said,
easy
okay.
part.
He said you wanted to fight. All right,
Yeah,
here's your. You better get
exactly,
trained. You got
exactly,
four
right?
of them. They're gonna gang up on you.
Well, they try already, man. It's scary.
So the whole time commuting to a job, doing the 9 to 5, what they tell us we're supposed to do, right? And what we got to do with the family. You're doing that, but then spend 3 to 4 hours, away. I mean, what kind of pressure is that for? I mean, your significant other. I mean, and being around that's a big sacrifice of pulling out to make that happen, man.
It's tough, man. That was probably the hardest part. Telling my significant other that hey, I'm gonna take time away from the family. I'm gonna pursue this dream that could literally be nothing. It could have just been an amateur fight, and especially living in New York, people don't realize that the cost of living is a lot different than around the country. So it was a sacrifice, but I just figured, hey man, I got youth. I'm got young for so long. I already picked a late bloomer stage to start. I just gotta give it all I got, and I was fortunate enough, man. I had my first fight 6 months in, and it was all wrestling. I wrestled in high school. I thought I knew what wrestling was until I started training with some of these college wrestlers. It was another world, but I honestly believe it was my mindset that and got me to where I'm at today, and to be able to be a part of my kid's life a lot more than when you're working, like you said, that quote unquote what you're supposed to do. What they trained you to do in high school and college and school. To be an employer, to be a worker. I'm grateful to be out of that. Like I'm hustling now for me. I'm hustling now for my family, and it's just that it's a hustle. Like if you think it's easy, people are crazy. Like Dana White said it best, man. And a lot of people, for whatever reason, Dana rubs them the wrong way. But I love the guy, man. He literally changed my life, and I have a great relationship with him. And he tells you not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And a lot of people just can't handle that. And I love it. I like to see where people stand, whether it's on my team or against my team. I just want to know, where to draw the line.
Yeah, I like him myself. I mean, he's at least the guy that is not going to bullshit you or try not to, maybe. I mean, I'm sure it's business. Some shit happens on accident, on accident, right? Stuff happens. But I mean, hell, the throne you're holding in that position is difficult, man. And then you're also dealing with fighters, man, that got some serious egos, man. They got some serious, because look at the ego you got to create to convince yourself that I have no martial arts training and say I can do that. You know what I mean? That personality, as you mentioned, mindset by itself has to be a bit, and he's got to mess with 500 fighters that all have the same dream that they envision. I'm the champion.
Yeah, it's you're spot on, man. I feel like if you come into the sport with anything less than that, don't do it. Like honestly, don't do it because just like the heart monitor in the hospital, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. I've been on the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And if I could tell anybody anything about fighting, about life, about anything in general, man, don't get too high with the highs, don't get too low with the lows because sometimes we get caught up with the end result and we don't even sit back and enjoy the journey and enjoy the hunt. And when I go and I speak to kids, because I do motivational speaking and things of that nature, and that's the thing that I stress the most because you just don't realize if you get too high, man, and you get too low, you're gonna find yourself in a state of depression. And a lot of fighters go through it, and people don't talk about it because it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, and it is a part of the business. It's a dark, sad part of the business, but it's just that it's a part of it.
Well, you opened up a can of worms accidentally on me. I don't know if you know, but I'm the founder of Athletes Depression Diagnosis and a
Yeah.
backer of this diagnosis. I believe it should be a diagnosis included in the DSM manual of diagnosis. It's a completely different etiology than regular depression that regular people deal with. And I say regular, meaning those that don't compete in high intensity with dire consequences, right? Well, however Joe explains it. But when you're raised like that or you compete as a gladiator, you experience highs that people that don't do that never really experience, like a drug. And we feel that, we become that. And as we assign ourselves to be that athlete, well, you've been doing it right, Eddie. There's an end to that. You've been setting up your end game. You put out a book already. You built around that, and so many don't. And it's a different etiology, man. And so athletes depression is something totally different. That's actually the third book I'm writing right now. Is that one. And that is also what I like to get into. Like you opened up the idea that it's a hustle. I know the fighters that I do a little mental training with some fighters, just some side stuff. I don't mess with, I'm not Miyagi. I don't make you fight good in the ring. I worry about your life on the outside. I help you balance the family and shit like that. And then you do that. You got coaches to do that shit that they make you do that. You know what I mean?
They handle that stuff.
Yeah, I just make sure your wife or husband doesn't leave you because you're fighting. And well, look, my argument is, right, Eddie, maybe you'll back me up, right? If you think for 2 seconds, is my wife mad at me while the dude's trying to put a darce on you or something like that, you lose.
No doubt about it. Yeah, man. It's people don't get that part though. That's the part that people don't get in. And you hit it on the head. And I didn't even know that about you. So literally, that was definitely a can of worm. But I'm very passionate about it because when I watch a fight, I used to go do a lot of appearances, go to these bars, go places, go to friends' house, do these fight parties. I can't do it no more because to hear somebody who's never walked in a cage criticize a fighter and talk down on the fighter, oh, he sucks, he this, he's that, and they don't have a clue that I understand it's entertainment. I get that part, trust me, because I was once being entertained by this sport. But you got to realize that this person has a life as well. You don't know if that person's mother passed away. You don't know if that kid's dealing with MS like that the young lady before the show. You don't know what's going on in their life and they're still laying on the line. Not to mention you got to cut 20, 30, 40 pounds just to walk into the cage to compete, to fight. And everybody's like, oh, that guy sucks. He didn't train for this fight. He's out of shape. No, he just lost 20% of his body weight just to make a fight. And he's going through having an injury that he probably didn't disclose to the commission because he has to get that check so he can support his family that he's been planning for the last 3 months. So there's so much that goes into a fight that people don't see. They think, oh man, this guy's making 6 figures for 15 minutes of work. But that's been work that's been putting on for years, months, weeks that they just don't understand. And the mental stress and strain for you is just up on to the next fight. But that's like that guy's whole entire world. Like that's my whole world. I'm not used to losing, man. I'm telling you right now. When I dealt with my first loss, I was devastated. I thought the world came to an end. I was undefeated. I was like, I think when I got my first loss, I might have been like 7-0, 8-0. I thought the world was coming to an end. And like, it's scary because some people don't know how to handle it. I've seen fighters, I'm not going to put them on the spot, but they don't leave their house. They're in dark rooms. They're in a state of depression. And it's like you got to force and pull them out. And it's an ongoing struggle that I don't have to tell you about, but people just don't realize it. It's a fight within us, man. And it's
Oh,
deep. It's
you're
so
telling
deep.
me. Oh, you're educating me, man. Look, I did some of those padded up bar fights that would be called amateur back in the day. And no, I trained some mission rule and some kick, but octagons, rings like that. I mean, no. If you're fighting the guy who signed up to or one amateur, then no, I don't know. I can't. I don't know what that's like to walk into a ring and lose and have that be my world where I'm trying to eat off of it. To where if I don't make this fight, I've dedicated everything to it. And the loss of belief, even. So, I mean, on things in life, sure, but what a fighter feels is that no, that's why I started this show, is because I wanted to dive into fighters that are doing that at the same. And what I'm trying to do is find research between the correlation of the lifestyle of fighter leads and those that haven't gone into a combat lifestyle, be that football or anything else at a young age, and trying to get those real life experiences, the actual fight life experiences, like you've said here. I mean, the actual hustle, the work that goes into it, what's really happening, working and training and back and forth. And mind you, you hear some dude go, "Oh man, I could have took him out. You just throw that right hook and he should have ducked it and it would have been good." And you're like, shut the fuck. Really?
Let me tell you, it drives me nuts because it's like it's the Monday morning quarterback, right? And like old me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually said this stuff too. Like it's crazy. It's absurd. And like most people, they get into a fight at a bar, right? It's 15 to 20 seconds, somebody's breaking it up. You're going out there, you're fighting for 15 to 25 minutes versus another trained athlete. You can't tell an army vet how it is when bullets are zinging past your ears. It's the same thing. Only difference with the army guys, which is like my heroes, like you could die. Like that's the only thing that makes it a little bit more comforting. It's like, all right, if I get hurt bad, like there is some EMS like right by the cage side. But for the guy that's sitting at the bar, he has no clue, risking life and limb, in that cage.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the cage itself to me is that, like you said, that's the end of it. The payday, the win or the loss. That's the end of what somebody didn't see, which was the, 6 months, 6 years even. I mean, I know fighters that I think should be in the damn UFC right fucking now. And they don't get the shot for some reason. And, they've been training 10 years. Every day they avoided beer for 10 years in case they got the 2-week call. They do that. And sometimes you just don't get the call.
Yeah,
Sometimes you do all that
that's the
work.
part that's tough too, man. That's the part that's tough because listen, I was very very fortunate. I realize it. Some people think it's an overnight success, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. But I know guys that are way more talented than some of the guys in the UFC. Some guys are sitting on 15, 14 fight win streak, and unfortunately, it's the entertainment side of the actual sport, and it sucks. It shouldn't be that way, but the thing that I love now, there's so many different promotions that are competing with the UFC, and I tell young fighters this all the time: you got to make a decision. Do you want to be popular or do you want to make money and take care of your family fighting? Because if you do want to, be popular, the UFC is the route to go. They got some of the best marketing. They'll make you a superstar. They'll make you a celebrity. A lot of these guys that are quote unquote famous, blue check mark, verified celebrity are broke as a joke. And you got the guy that's the fly by night guy that's a journeyman that's fighting in some of these other promotions that are getting paid well, getting paid better than some of these UFC guys. They set up other businesses and they're making well. They're supporting their family. So I tell fighters, if you want to be famous or you want to be wealthy and be able to take care of your family, it's a thin line. And a lot of these guys, like you said, don't look past the cage, the ring. I realize that I can't fight forever. Like that's the one thing I know. Father Time is undefeated, and I want to leave this sport with all my capacities. I want to be able to spend time with my kids. That's my life, my kids. I want to be able to be healthy and live a good functional life, and in the same aspect, be able to support them. So there's a lot that goes into it that the average fan does not know. And I get it. You just want to be entertained, but you have to realize that there's a lot more to the fight game. So I'm actually grateful for you for bringing this platform, bringing this light, bringing this to light.
Well, it needs, I appreciate it, man. And it needs to be to looked at. You know, all the even the CTE stuff coming out, that stuff scares me, man. And whether we're pinpointing it or we're making hypothesis about certain protein reactions, we're unsure. But certain things looking pretty sure. And look, man, I played football for a long time. I started at 6, and I played a little amateur ball for a little while, even after college. So I banged my head around enough, man. And I play linebacker. So you're leading with the head. So when I watch fighters and I talk to football players, this is something that draws me in, is that I mean, most people don't even know the average lifespan of an NFL football player is 56 years old. If you've
Wow.
played what? If you've played 4 years. So I mean, that's the averages you're rolling, man. And so I don't even watch football. I don't even watch football anymore. It's hard for me to, because I kind of watch like, fuck. It's a difficult route, that they go, and fighting is so young. We
I
don't
watch
know.
football and I wonder, I'm like, how the heck did I even do it? Like, honest to God, like my kids play and they excel at it, and I'm terrified. And it's like, and I always want them to pursue their passion, pursue their dream, but it scares me. After I watched that movie Concussion, man, I'm not even gonna sit here and lie to you. I generally thought about, retiring from fighting because just like you, I've been playing football my whole life. I played Division I football in college, and I thought I'd be in the NFL. Like I thought for sure, I'm in the NFL. There's nothing gonna stop me. And now I'm competing and fighting, getting punched. I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm a hypochondriac. I'm like, do I got CTE? Do I not? Do I don't? And it's scary. And the worst thing, I don't want to, put my kids in that situation. But then again, I don't want to steal their dream. My oldest son, he's a phenomenal athlete, and that's his love. He loves it like no other. This kid watches film. He knows every single player. It's like, how do I steal that from him? So it's a scary, scary route, man. And this is coming from somebody that football helped get me my education, got me a scholarship, got me. So I'm not biased. Like if I'm feeling this way, I can't even imagine how somebody who never played before could possibly feel.
Yeah, man. I think the best route that you can go at this point is just the education. Here's what is at risk. Here is the offshoot. Here's the balance. Here's what we know. Here's what we don't know. And there's a huge correlation. We've been doing some research. I have a co-author, a young kid working with me, Nick Leonfelter, young kid to me, but he works at a university in some sports psychology. We've been doing some surveys, and we find a huge link and a crossover between contact sports, pre-fighting, college sports, I should say, football, mainly wrestling, etc. Seems to be a massive feeder right into fighting
Yes.
and right into what we do. Heck, I thought about pursuing that. You know what I mean? I was going, I might as well, and probably should have. I wouldn't have been in prison, but outside of that, but seeing that kind of a crossover, it's what I was doing, right? Chasing those. I was looking for those Friday night lights again, that rush again, where I'm not thinking about the life, the competing, the pushing myself, looking for that again. And it is that fine line, is what are we willing to sacrifice? And all we know really is that information.
No, you're spot on, man. Education is everything, man. And I'm fortunate enough. That's how I even started coaching my son's team. 'Cause I wanted to make sure they got taught right. Not those archaic, head down, this. We barely do contact, man. Like if your football is one of those few sports that you don't have to play at a young age. Like if you either got it or you don't with football. You see these NFL guys coming from basketball to football. They're talented. You're athletic, and it's not like baseball where it's tough to hit a baseball. You got to do it from over and over and over again. So that's my take on it. I obviously still love football. It's a little bit tougher to watch, and they are changing the game. They're making it more safe with all the rules and everything. And for a hard-nosed football guy who's a defensive guy like you, linebacker, D end, it's like they're favoring the offense. But I do get it because the average NFL career is 3 years.
Yeah,
You just 3 years. You can't get a pension till year 4 or 5. So it's just tough, man. It's probably the worst professional sport to play. It's scary. I'm happy I didn't make the NFL. I think fighting sounds crazy, but it's way safer. I feel like there's protocols where if you do get a concussion, you're out for 90 days minimum. Unlike football, you see these guys playing the next week. You know Gronk is playing in the Super Bowl. Everybody's acting as if it's a doubt. Oh, he's not. He's playing in the Super Bowl. Like, let's be serious.
Yeah.
like he's there. And that's what, a week, 2 weeks. Your brain doesn't heal that quickly.
I mean, I don't mean how many times. I remember when I first got to college, and me and this larger senior guy made contact, and the older linebacker could tell I was a little wrong, and he drops me the information. He goes, "Squint your eyes and follow the color. We're green." And so I squint my eye, like, okay, it was green, and I walked toward green, and that doesn't count how many times as a player we did that we just went, fuck it, and we just went through it, or play through, as the Pop Warner coach would tell us, and
exactly.
Fighting is way different. Fighting is, I say way different. It's only one, you're not running at each other at full speed, which is a massive difference.
Not a controlled car accident, man. That's what it is. That's what I tell people. Football is a controlled car accident. I finish a fight and I can function the next day. I can function that night. Towards my end of my college career, after a game, I was destroyed. I couldn't move. Like, you going through 60, 70 plays of hitting another 200, 300-pound man running a 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 collision. It's brutal. And my health deteriorated. Before I started fighting, man, I was upwards of 300 plus pounds. Like, it's crazy. Like, when people say fighting saves their life, like, fighting literally saved my life. Like, saved my life.
New can of worms. Let's go. We're walking into it. You're 300 pounds. Yeah, so wait a minute. So you're not only are you the guy with no martial arts experience with a desk job, you're 300 pounds staring at the ring and said I could do that.
That it was crazy, man. It was crazy. I mean, I remember cutting weight for my first fight, fighting heavyweight. I had to cut weight to make 265 pounds. So, and then now, like, I fought at 170. Haven't been 170 since I was probably in 6th, 7th grade, man. It's crazy. But people say it all the time, fighting saved their life, but fighting literally, generally, like, saved my life. And everything I do revolves around, like, my life experience, man. Like, I don't have doctorates and I'm not certified in all these crazy things, but I'm certified through life experience because I battled depression. I've battled emotional stress, physical stress, mental, emotional, financial, every single lean emotionally thing you possibly think of. Like, I dealt with it. And that's like my call of action to people. Stop making excuses. If you execute, you can make it happen. And all it takes is the right mindset. I tell my kids I don't like liars, so don't lie to me and don't make excuses. That's my two biggest rules, man, because it just happens way too often. I think we're just too sensitive, and it drives me crazy. I just can't stand excuses because I could have made so many excuses along the way. So many excuses why I couldn't fight, why I couldn't do this, and some of them could have been valid. Somebody, if I'd have told somebody, they'd have been like, you know what, you do got 2 kids, you got a mortgage, you really can't take this risk. I forget it. But no, like, it was probably stubbornness like helped, but it just don't make excuses, man. If you're passionate about something, make it happen. You don't got to go all in. You don't got to go all in and it's like quit your job and go darn near bankrupt. Just give it 15 minutes a day, an hour a day, or whatever it is. I didn't start with 3 hours like right off the bat. I got my butt kicked when I first walked in that gym. Like, I got my ass handed to me. Like, literally, so many guys probably came to their door and said, "Hey, I want to be a fighter." And they threw him in the ring and they said, "No, that's it." I got my tail destroyed. And I was like, you know what? That was I sound sick now. That was fun. I want to learn how to do that. And I got back up and I came in. I just kept pushing and I'm pushing and pushing until, I'm here today, man.
You talk about and drop it a few times, the mindset, right? And I've written about the mindset, the idea, the expansion of the actual mindset and going into it. But I think I'm going to walk down just bear with me, all right? I'm gonna say some shit that's kind of hard to say sometimes, especially when the Duke will probably wrestle the shit out to beat the shit. Right. All right. So let's we'll do this together. So how many people, right? We talk about the idea of mindset or the belief, right? And that you envision yourself as a champion, right? You play the game The Secret, right? You know, you just envision it and that is going to be there, and you hold that belief, and this becomes the mindset. And as I'm a firm believer in what we believe is being able to be manifested as long as we put action into it and move.
Yes.
But what happens when both fighters are both in the ring? They both have the belief. One of them loses. Could we then say that the other one just didn't believe good enough? I guess.
No, you know what it is. If you go into a fight thinking you can't win, then why even be there? Like, you know,
Right.
you got to believe in yourself. You know, when you look at the actual population versus the amount of people that actually fight, I'm not even talking about UFC. UFC, it gets smaller and smaller, but it's probably 1%, if that high, of the people could actually get to that level. And how they got there? Confidence, belief in themselves. So literally, when you watch a fight and you watch it from like a fighter's perspective with the fighter's eyes, it could be a little mistake. They both believed. One guy just happened to drop his hand at the wrong time. One guy just executed better and just followed the game plan a little better. One guy got screwed by the judges. So there's so many different scenarios that could happen from the fight. And I came to peace with myself once I realized if you give it your all, you go out there and you train, you put everything on the line, you gave 150% in there, the outcome at that point is out of your hands. You did everything in preparation. Go out there and enjoy the fruits of your labor, because that's the fun part. The fighting is the fun part. It's everything else that's just horrible. Like you said, the guy that can't drink a beer for 10 years worrying about that 2 weeks call, or not being able to go out to watch football with your boys and have some wings and beer, or just going to your kid's birthday party and forget going to a kid's birthday party. How about your kid's birthday party and you can't eat the cake? So there's
Yeah.
a lot of things that goes into the whole entire process itself that you can't even like blame yourself for. So you got to just put the work in, and something's gonna happen, but you got to live with it.
That's
Let
what I
me
wanted.
pop the lights on.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, man. Because what I wanted to point out is a lot of fighters, I say a lot, the few that I talk to, you know, that work on mental game, is they believe that there's some weakness in the mental game, that they're not believing in enough, or their mindset wasn't focused on it enough. And a lot of times, I'm trying to explain that. Look, that sometimes you drop your hand, sometimes the kick is quicker, sometimes that just happens, and being able to roll with what that loss is like. Now, how they take that is on them. That's something I can't really talk about or how to deal with. But I think I'm glad. That's what I wanted to point out, is that the idea that one can't just believe themselves into the UFC octagon ring.
No. I tell people all the time, man, because I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I still am a big believer in the law of attraction. I believe in all that positive thinking. Like, if you didn't pick it up yet, like, mindset's like my thing, man. I mastered mindset through life experiences. I'm talking about, I could go through hours and hours to explain it to you, you know, why I developed the mindset, because I wasn't always mentally tough like I am now. But
What's some of those things? What's some of the
I
things that really helped you either question or concrete or begin to really sharpen the mindset you're talking about?
Um, the most recent, like, just dealing with losses of like loved ones and family, you know, that I'm close to, dealing with going through a divorce at a young age, dealing with being so broke, don't even know where the next meal's coming from, dealing with, you know, having, you know, an immigrant family come from another country, be completely different.
Well, hold on. Wait. Now, I love this, because what you just said is a bunch of bad shit that happens to motherfuckers. That's what you said. Is a bunch of bad shit that happens to people. And I asked you, well, what made your mindset sharper? What made you better? And you didn't list like some awesome thing that happened to you or something you experienced other than these shitty things that happened to us. Well, I guess Eddie, your mindset is legit. You actually fucking mean what you say when you're talking about your mindset and mastering it, man. That was beautiful.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, man. Like, that's when you grow, is when you're going through the grind, man. When you're going through bad stuff is when you're growing. It's easy to be positive when your bank account's got millions in it. It's easy to be positive when your fridge is stacked with food. It's easy to be positive when you got clothes on your back. But think about those kids that, like, a pair of shoes is a want. It's not a need. Like they're getting like bacteria in their feet because they just don't have shoes. Like, there's a lot. They don't have clean drinking water. There's a lot that goes into it. But I was like the biggest law of attraction. Like you couldn't tell me nothing. I'm just gonna believe it, believe it, believe it. And one of my mentors, man, Steve Maraboli, he's a popular dude. He's big in public speaking, and he said it amazing. He's like, Truck, let me tell you something. Even though some of those public speakers and those motivational speakers, they'll talk a good game, right? They'll tell you law of attraction, law of attraction. But what they don't tell you all the time is, and you said it, which blew my mind. You said it. I say it's the law of action. Like the law of attraction doesn't work unless you put some action into it. Those guys that are public speaking on those stages full of thousands of people, they put the time in. They wrote the books. They did the research. They got the gigs. Like they put work behind it. You can't just sit there on the couch and just say, "Oh man, I'm gonna have the best podcast in the world. I'm gonna become the UFC champ. I'm gonna lose 100 pounds," and just sit there eating pizza and like doing nothing. It's just not gonna happen. You need to put the action behind the attraction for it to happen, and that's the part that I think a lot of people who's buying The Secret, the Law of Attraction, all the affirmation books, and making the vision boards. Because I got all that stuff. I got the vision boards, but my vision boards, whatever they are, depending on what category. Like for instance, when I say I'm making this weight, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. My vision board's in my front of my treadmill. So when I'm running on that treadmill with the action, then I'm attracting it. That's how it's gonna happen. Like it's just not gonna happen by me thinking about it.
Yeah, I would agree. It's putting something to it, man. And, I tend to try to be a dualistic person to try to argue the other side too. And I even wrote about it a little bit. Now his name's eluding me. Anyway, I should open up the book. Come on, Adam. Oh my gosh. This is killing me right now, man. Oh, Dr. Bruce Lipton. There it is. Dr. Bruce Lipton wrote about him a little bit, and he talks about the non-placebo effect, which is something about just believing. And they've done research now, man, where they actually gave people and told them this is a placebo pill. It is not for doing that. Then they gave people medicine that was for doing that. And then they simply told people to believe, to state things differently, etc. And we're seeing a non-placebo effect that was working stronger than the medicine. So
Yeah.
I just think it sounds wooey nowadays, right? That it's just okay, hippie, secret person. And look, and you and I just made an argument for how that can be crazy. But for the other side is maybe it's just a realm we're so early in that we don't really understand, how much belief helps with diseases, cancer, all these things.
I think so. I'm a big believer too, man. Like, I think that everything's possible. Like my life is possible because I believe that. And I think our minds, we use 10% of our mind. And the people that can heal themselves and all that stuff, they're unlocking more, to it than that. And honestly, like I can see that, especially I put it like kids. When kids get sick at a young age, they tend to beat it because they don't know any better. They don't know any better. Like when an adult goes into the office and the doctor tells them that's it, you got this cancer, that cancer, you're sick, you're this, and they check out. They're like, all right, I'm done, I'm going, peace. I can't fight it. You tell a kid that, they don't know, they can't spell cancer, and they're like, I'm beating this thing.
Yeah.
So I think that goes a long way. You look at couples, one person passes away, the other spouse who was healthy as can be can't live without the other person, and they pass away right away after them. So it's definitely relevant. I think it's do I think you can achieve things just by thinking about it? I think that's possible, but it's going to be a lot easier, a lot more attainable if you go out there and put the action. It'll happen a lot faster.
Yeah, man. There's one last little mind trip before we wrap it up, man. I had a guy on the podcast a couple times. His name's Stephen Kotler. He's a well-known author. Put out The Rise of Superman, Stealing Fire most recently. He does all the study of flow states, basically how we get into flow state. He studies rappers, X Games people, etc. And it's so you mentioned the 10% of the brain thing, and really essentially we only use 10%, but different parts of it at a time. But we're only able right now to utilize somewhere around 10% of this side at one point, this side at one point, right? And then I automatically started thinking, okay, so if we can function and use more of it, maybe we can get crazy superhuman. Well, I also happen to be a freestyle poet and a rapper, and I've been doing that for a long time, but let's just do it for fun. And so I got interested in flow state that way. And what they're looking at is surfers. And it's what's so crazy, man, is they're figuring out the deeper into flow state that we go, the brain actually shuts the fuck off. It shuts off.
Wow.
There's less and less activity when we're deeper and deeper in flow. In the middle of a surfing, when we're catching that big wave, when we're in the middle of the fight, when that's happening, and when I'm spitting or when the poetry's doing or someone's painting, when they're in that flow of whatever they're doing, whether it's you on the treadmill or training or rolling or what you do to find your flow, our brain actually shuts down and does less work.
I believe it. I believe it. That freaks me out, man, because it's funny that you even said that, because I thought that, because I'm not gonna lie to you, some of my biggest adrenaline rushes, some of the craziest moments in my fight, I don't even remember it. Like it's like I'm almost like not even like experiencing it. And I go back and watch it. I'm like, holy smokes, that happened. Like what?
No shit.
And when I'm in there, I'm like, tunnel vision, geared in, and I'm just like, holy smoke! Like when you're slipping a punch and you're weaving, so you get into that flow state. It's almost like you're on autopilot. It's wild, and to me, that makes sense. And it's the brain is, our minds are the most high tech computer known to man, and we have not even cracked the surface of it yet. Because realistically, think about it, we can't. We always got to learn through experiences, and when somebody who's probably talking straight truth and straight knowledge and fire, they start talking, people think, oh, that guy is crazy. Most people that people think are crazy are end up being geniuses. So it's like, I think I can learn something from everybody, man, and that, not to go on a tangent, but that's how I came up with my book, man. Like if someone had ever told me I would write a book, I would have been a best-selling author, I would have laughed at you and said, there is no way in the world. In high school, I did really well in school, never read. College, never read, did really well. But like, it was like an epiphany I had. Like I literally had like an epiphany. I listened to speaking gigs, and people was always like, oh man, you're so motivational. How do you stay so upbeat? I want something. They always wanted something to take away, and I never had anything. And I won an Emmy Award on my life story from Newsday. I'm like, nobody can tell my story better than me. Like I know they missed so much. And when I wrote the book, coming up with the name was the hardest part of the book. I had every single name, and a good friend of mine said, because I wanted to be kept trucking as if I was done. And she's like, no, that ain't you. You're forever trucking. It's never done. You're always going to be trucking. You're always going to be climbing that mountain. The second you rest at the top and you think you reach the top is when you're going to have your decline. You are always in forever trucking, and that is you. That's who you are. That's the first thing I look at you and see. And that's how I got the name of the book. And like, it's a mindset for me, man. If you didn't get that from me yet, like that's like my bread and butter. That's my secret powers is my mindset. And I just want to be the voice of hope for people, so people could just believe in themselves, man, because I think that's what we're really lacking in this world, is a belief. And too many times people tell you you can't do something because they're afraid to do it, and they just want to convince you because they want to be miserable. Like, oh, I'm getting pumped up just even thinking about it, man. Like, it's just nuts, man. Like, everybody in this planet needs to get that mindset, get that forever trucking attitude, because I promise you, you're not going to be able to do everything. If I tell you that being positive, having that mindset, you're some skinny, scrawny kid, you're going to become a world-class boxer or basketball player. No, it's not going to happen. But I promise you, if you're more positive and you got that right mindset, you're going to do it a lot better than you would have if you were negative.
Hashtag the fight life, motherfuckers. Holy.
That's it. Hell yeah.
Now, if we were on the other show, that's when I would say, now that, sir, is a cognitive rampage.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on, Eddie, man, and sharing. So I am being the first guest on the Fight Life on the Cognitive Rampage Network, man. And this mic is open to you, or somebody you think that needs to be on a mic or should be heard or wants to share something, man. That's what it's about, is the Fight Life. People that are fighting for something in life or are fighters in life, man. The mic's open, and I appreciate you really sharing the mindset of a fighter in your life so transparently here. Thank you, man.
No, thank you for having me, man. Like, being the first guest is an honor, is a privilege. And I just want to thank you for having this platform, because, I've done hundreds of podcasts, millions of interviews, and this was probably the realest one. I probably had, some of the best enjoyment. And I just really want people to just believe in themselves, man. That's my message. I know a ton of fighters, and some of them don't get the credit that they deserve, and they're all fighting for something different. That's why, I came up with my slogan, shut up and fight. People think that it was from, fighting, but that wasn't why I trademarked that. That wasn't why I came up with that. Fighting for something. whether you're fighting for food, for money, for a physical fight, you're fighting cancer, disease, whatever you're fighting for, you got to believe, you got to have that mindset, and you are going to accomplish it. And anybody that hasn't purchased the book yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Go to Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, put in Forever Truckin'. It's going to pop up. It changed my life. This book has done it helped a lot of people, but it's helping me the most because mornings I wake up and I'm like, maybe I'm a little bit down or I don't got the same pep in my step. I just literally go to my email, go to my DMs, and I read every single one of my DMs. I read the good, the bad, the indifferent. That's how I think we linked up. People don't think it's really me that's checking this because I try to respond to everybody, but I look at these DMs, I take screenshots, and some of the messages I'm getting from people reading the book, how they thought they were alone. They didn't know that somebody like myself battled some of these issues and was able to come out on the other side.
I didn't know. I didn't
Those
know.
emails, those DMs,
No, go ahead. I didn't know,
that's
man.
how
I
like
found you on Twitter like that. You were sharing some stuff that meant some shit. And I was going like, oh shit. I was like, okay, my man doesn't just fight. All right. And I was like, I dig this, man. And I reached out directly. I usually I try to reach out personally when I can, but I just reached out, man. You came right back to me, man, and came on.
yeah, man. And that's to me, it's like to me that means everything because when I was a kid, I had these role models, these heroes, these fighters, these athletes, these this, that, and there was no platform to connect with them. And I'm like, if I can make a difference in somebody's life by just responding to a message, and if you see how crazy some of these people get, it's awesome, man, because I know that I'm helping build something special, and that for me is everything. So it just means a lot. Learn my story, learn how I got this mindset in Forever Trucking, Mastering the Will to Win. It's, I got 6 key principles that go into deep detail. You learn a lot about my life, and I'm not just talking from somebody who's, who lived a privileged life, man. I've been at, rock bottom, and I've climbed my Mount Everest, and I'm keep on climbing. I'm gonna keep forever trucking.
Oh man, thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man.
No, much love, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.